Come along, children. Now we're going to have a little music.
What's up, y'all? It's your boy RB3, and we're here. I'm here joined by Rihaana Stark from Geeks of Color, and today we're talking about the new Amazon Prime Video show, I'm a Virgo, from writer-director Boots Riley, brilliant director who gave us Sorry to Bother You and now this show. And I want to start with you, Rihaana, because you wrote a review, a really good review for Geeks of Color. I'm going to put that in the link in the description down for people below to check that out. But just for people who haven't read that review yet, what are your thoughts on the show?
It is not subtle at all. It's very overhanded, but it's also very fun. I think once you sort of forget subtlety and try to look for symbolism and all that, it's like it's right there. Like it's right in front of your face. So it's refreshing in that way.
Yeah, no, I love the refreshing aspect of it, especially in the age of there being so many superhero movies and superhero content in general right now. And if you're asking me personally, I do believe that there's a lot of superhero fatigue. I feel like that's a real thing.
For sure.
And I think, I think what this show does, there's a few exceptions. There's like Across the Spider-Verse, Watchmen, I was on HBO, Wakanda Forever. But these are really ones that like really, really stick out. And at the same time, they're also based on Marvel and DC properties.
Right, yeah.
So it's like with this show, it just really was refreshing to see an original voice in the superhero genre, but like not a particularly optimistic voice either. It's like a true, to me, I love it because it's a true satire. I feel like they really got to the satiristic aspect of it.
For sure.
So I was going to ask you though, like, do you we're out of the superhero satirical elements, what kind of stood out the most to you?
The hero, deadass being called the hero.
Yeah.
I think just give me your narrative. I think it's very funny because they don't even give him a superhero name. They just call him the hero just to say he can do no wrong. So there's that. I think that's just really just comedy. And also I think the homie Cootie was reading Gigantor. I think, yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, because he's giant. So that
yeah, I thought that was
so that
cute,
makes sense. Yeah, that is cute. That's funny too. I think Amazon Prime in particular has a lot of that superhero satire kind of content with The Boys and with Invincible, the animated show that they have. But what do you think like makes this particularly like stand out?
In a superficial standpoint, well, everyone is black, which I appreciate. So, seeing black faces, black bodies, different body types as well, just on the screen. And what also, really can't get over the absurdity of it all. I think it's pretty neat that things just are the way that they are. And sure, the other characters question it, but there's never an answer. And I think it's refreshing because to sort of, because some things don't need to be answered. Like, I don't need to know why he's a giant. He's already a giant, So stuff like that definitely makes it stand out for sure. And the setting, it takes place in Oakland. I've never been, I'm not a Cali person like you, but I heard a lot of, Snoop Dogg and Kendrick, which I appreciated. I really did appreciate it. So I think the soundtrack also sets it apart from others.
Yeah, that soundtrack was hard. Yeah, they had that when he was rolling around in the car, he had that.
Oh yeah,
yeah, that was fun. It did feel like the first like couple episodes in particular felt like a really good coming of age story. And I think that's also what's made it a fun, instead of it being a superhero origin story, it's really like a character origin story per se.
Exactly, yeah.
I saw on Amazon Prime, they have the little like behind the scenes featurettes where like Boots Riley was like talking about each of the episodes. And I think on episode 1, he was mentioning how like he was inspired. He wrote the character of Cootie because he had, when he was like 18 or 19 or something, he had dated a young woman who had spent the first 18 years of her life like inside of a cult, like trapped inside of a cult, and never really saw the outside world. So she was kind of almost like an alien inside of this real world. So that's kind of what like Cootie's kind of based on. I thought that was kind of a funny aspect, like the whole fish out of water perspective that they kind of take on in this show.
Yeah, also when just Cootie just coming to terms of like, racism, because he's obviously he's told about it, but he's sheltered, because he said, well, if you're a black man and you don't have a job, the cops put you in jail. Like, that's not exactly what happens. However, so just stuff like that. So he's slowly just learning that like people are not inclined to like him, not only because he's a giant, but because he's a black man, and so that just adds to it. And so I just think it's really neat just watching him like discover how fucked up the world is with them, but the other characters are just like, yeah, that's what happens,
Yeah, and they and like you mentioned in the beginning, there's like no subtlety in terms of what they get to, which I love. You know what I mean? I personally love the fact that it's like over the top and absurd.
Yeah, because not everybody is like can analyze all these films. I know you can, but like not everybody is like that, to be writing essays on it. Some people need to like just slap in the face with like the meaning of the show, really.
Right. And I thought, like I had a couple of them like listed here, just of like the things they address, right? But like discriminatory zoning practices, environmental racism, cultural appropriation, like with the whole him being like the sneaker, or not the sneaker, but the clothing streetwear brand. Had him being on that.
The live art,
that was crazy. That was super crazy. It was almost like some King Kong kind of stuff,
it really was. Yeah,
it's just so funny. Even I was even gonna mention the death penalty, which had that hilarious cameo from Elijah Wood.
Yeah, I thought that was hilarious because I was like, I didn't know what he was expecting, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, you think he's going to be, against the death penalty, And so I just think, it's funny, but it's also sad just watching him sort of, realize that the system doesn't really work. When he, I forgot the brother's name, but he, when he got stabbed and was bleeding out. Scat. How he was just like appalled and just in shock that such a thing happened. Like that happens. That happens,
Right. And that's a real and that's a real thing. And that's what was so, again, the capitalism and the going into how it's like this. The show is pretty firmly like anti-capitalist, pretty like firmly on the side of like we should give back to the people. I know
it's very socialist.
Yeah, very socialist. Yeah, and I think that one character, Jones, is like the kind of stand-in for a lot of that representation in that. And it's so interesting seeing Jones trying to build a movement, people through strikes and through organized movement and things of that nature, which is, I think, very nice and very reflective of real life, what we're seeing a lot in real life through a lot of strikes that are happening all throughout the country. But I also feel like it's such a vast contrast to, we see those brief moments of Cootie's mom is much more like head on, like, yo, we need to be more forceful. Like we need a leader. Like, and they're almost kind of implying that Cootie is like, they wanted Cootie to kind of be that leader long term, so it's just kind of interesting seeing that. I don't know what your kind of takeaway from.
Yeah, I did like the different aspects of activism because I think a lot of people are quick to write other forms of activism off because they're not as effective or like not as immediately effective. And I think, doing the whole us versus them stuff really distracts from like why activism is a thing, like the main goal. And so I really like that. But I also appreciated how, they didn't make it seem like a given that capitalism is evil. They didn't, like they explain that to to the hero like he was a 5-year-old. And I appreciated that because a lot of people, depending on who they are and what they see, odds are they're not thinking about capitalism like that. Because you can't really blame them for that. So I just think it's neat that Jones's power seemed to be explanation. Just explain it to me like I'm 5. That was their strong suit. That was their superpower. And I really did like that.
And even not even just the power of convincing or explaining, but it's also, I feel like the power of storytelling, the power
for real.
just, how they, I love those sequences where it just became all black and you just saw the entire world. You know, it was very surrealist. And I think that's the overall theme I could catch from this show is just the surrealism. It doesn't feel like it's exactly real. It's exactly real life, but it's close enough. But when they have those big moments like that, you're like, oh, okay, this is a little fantastical, but it's in a beautiful way. It's done in an amazing way.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah.
As you know, and talking about Jones having that power, persuasion, you know, kind of power that they have. You know, also we see Olivia Washington. She plays Flora in the show.
I really did like her character. I think it was really nice. Especially for neurodivergence representation and autism representation. Personally, I'm not autistic, but I have friends who are, and so it's just nice seeing. I think she said something like she said, "Well, I'm not too fast. You guys are just too slow." You know, just sort of, and how she felt that she needs to translate her mannerisms, her sayings. She has to translate for everybody else's sake. You know, so I really appreciated that.
That was a really beautiful metaphor, and I honestly hadn't even picked up on that until really you just mentioned it just now. How that was with that.
Yeah,
that metaphor.
it's a bit glossed over, or not glossed over, but it's a bit quick when they do it. But it's also like relatively obvious in the things that like they do. But I think that's why she and Cootie are perfect for each other because they're both awkward to no one's fault. I mean, Cootie has been inside the house for 19 years. Of course, she's going to be awkward, but she's awkward too. And it's just, but she's like accepting of his awkwardness, whereas he's just like, okay, I am socially weird. I like this cannot be, you know. So I think that she kind of helps him, you know, just accept his, you know, social ineptitude.
Yeah, and I think having that companionship is helpful for the both of them, because like you said, their powers are reflective. Their powers are like kind of reflective of like who their personalities are, but almost like a contradiction a little bit too. Whereas Cootie is big, but he feels small in this world that he's in.
Yeah.
And whereas you know, Flora, she's she you know processes time in a much like faster like reality. But then you know,
and she talks slow too, Flora, which I thought was interesting because she was saying how fast she processes stuff, but she has to slow herself down, and you could hear it in her speech. Like,
yeah,
she's a bit not like she's slow, but like she's slow in speech.
That's what. Yeah, that's exactly. And it's like that awkwardness. And I feel like that was a really good performance choice from I believe her name is Olivia. Washington. Yeah, I know Dorian did interviews with the cast on Geeks of Color if people want to check that out too. But yeah, her personality is not like at all like the Flora character. So and I think that all the young actors did an amazing job. Jarrell Jerome, obviously he won the Emmy a couple years ago for When They See Us. He was really amazing in that. And he was really good in this as, you know, playing somebody like a young teenager who's like socially, like you said, socially awkward, trying to like find his place in the world. Everybody stood out. Even Walton Goggins, it's like he could just like play a natural racist.
And it comes a bit too easy, don't it?
Yeah, right. Right. Yeah, we saw. What was that one? The Hateful Eight. Yeah, we saw that one. We know what's going on. So, but he was really good too. I believe. Mike Epps. I didn't even mention Mike Epps as the father.
I think he was such unnecessary casting because it's already absurd, you know, the premise of it being this 13-foot man, you know, but like he makes jokes about it, right?
You know, you're a big motherfucker. All the wear and tear that you're putting on this house, I mean, just leaning on the walls, you're putting holes in them. And I gotta fix this shit myself. Because I don't want nobody to see your big ass.
So it's just sort of like, okay, so we're not the only one who realizes that this is weird, you know? So, but it also normalizes it. And I think that's his perfect comedic timing. Like I can't explain it. That's just Epps, you know.
Yeah, and that casting is so good because it's like And going back to Sorry to Bother You, it was like Terry Crews playing the father in that film.
Mm-hmm.
You just have that abrasive black fatherhood, like
Yeah,
it's just always gonna get in your butt, like whenever. Like,
it's hard. Sometimes it's a bit hard because like sometimes when he talks, it's like I don't know if he's trying to make a joke or if he's being serious, you know. But I'm laughing either way, so like I guess that's a good thing, you know.
Right. Yeah, no, it was good though. I really enjoyed it. It was a really fun, show. I'm excited to see. They're obviously building up to more seasons. It looks like.
Okay, I certainly hope so because I think the show asked a lot more questions than it answered.
Right.
Granted, like the questions didn't need to be answered, but there's this like with the bingo burger, you know.
Right.
I was like, what is in that food? What is in that? And, you know.
Right. That's why I was kind of wondering, is that what made Cootie big? He was like, because they were saying in the beginning that was the sister.
How his parents were like strapped, you know, they were like ready. I wasn't ready for that. That was not unexpected. I would like to know more as to why, you know, they got that thing on them.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to see what more of the story goes. And again, it's like you said, I don't need a whole origin story as to like how he got big or how, you know, Flora got
Yeah, because he's already big.
Right, exactly. I'm just excited to see where this world develops more. Because what was that big? Kind of spoiler alert, but what was that giant thing that was like eating him up, like in the torso area towards the end? That was kind of nutty.
I think it was because of the burger.
Right.
Because you didn't see that rash until later, and and this is a bit unrelated, but I do love the way that they talk about his hygiene. You know?
Oh yeah.
He said, "I love playing with your balls, but I do not like smelling them."
Yeah.
Because I was just thinking, like, does he shower? Because they make it seem like he doesn't. You know?
Right. I think we see him shower like one time in the very beginning, but
yeah,
even then, I'm like, how does that work? Like, I just got giant
the water
hose.
bill. It's crazy.
But yeah, and then shout out to how they actually did those effects too. Apparently, you know, just listening to Dorian's interviews, for Geeks of Color, they had to film a lot of this. They filmed a lot of it practically, like all practically without like CGI. That forced perspective that they used in the old Lord of the Rings movies, and apparently they had to contact old VFX people from like ILM and stuff to like figure out how to make it work in 2022, 2023. So it was dope seeing them engineer practical filmmaking into this like crazy absurd story, but still make it work and seem pretty realistic too for the most part.
Yeah, and really, that was amazing, and I also like to commend the actors, and you know, because just pretending that somebody is 10 feet taller than they normally are is, I can imagine, gets very complicated, you know, because you want to do eye contact, but their eyes are all the way up there,
Right.
you know, in post. So I think, and I also think it says something to make yourself physically vulnerable, but as a giant, you know, to make yourself seem like you're trying to close in on yourself, but you know, he's a big guy. It's a bit difficult.
Yeah, no, it was just dope all around. It was dope all around. But yeah, that's our review of I'm a Virgo. I don't know if you had anything else to say about it.
I'm a Sagittarius.
You're Sagittarius. I'm a Gemini, so we're actually not Virgos here, but you know, we appreciate the Virgo mentality that this show brought out to us. Rihaana, real quick before we dip out of here, where can people follow you?
At StarkBuy, that's BUY on all socials.
Okay. And then it's just like, you know, Stark by, I don't know. I was trying to make a pun that wasn't going anywhere. My bad. And you can follow us here at First Cut TMO on Twitter and TikTok and Instagram. You can follow me personally at Director RB3. And make sure you subscribe to this channel if you're watching this for the first time. With that being said, you know, I'm RB3.
I'm Rihaana Stark.
And we're peacing out, y'all. Peace.
It's either me or you. Take you out the equation. It's either me or you. You do the math. Only one can remain.
Well, I'm a Virgo. And Virgos love adventure.
Facts.